Brand Africa has launched a pan-African initiative that will recognize and rank some of the continent's best places for tourism, investment and citizen mobilization. Now, Brand Africa founder and chairman Thebe Ikalafeng says recognizing Africa's best places will not only inspire pride, but will also enhance reputation and competitiveness. My co-anchor Ayanda Nyathi joins us now live from the Durban ICC for day 4 of the Intra-African Trade Fair taking place there. Ayanda, this sounds like an incredibly important initiative, Brand Africa.
Without a doubt, and that's certainly the kind of message that will be sent out throughout the course of the remainder of this particular trade fair right here at the Durban ICC. Let's not waste any time. Bring in our guest, Thebe Ikalafeng, who's joining us now. He's the chair of Brand Africa itself, and it's great to have you on the program as always, sir. Thanks very much indeed for making time.
Thank you so much, and for waking me up so early, Ayanda. How does one do that with such a good conscience?
Look, with great difficulty. I'll be the first to admit that, and I'm sure many of my colleagues in Johannesburg also agree. But let's speak about what you've been able to do so far. I mean, there's a kind of ranking that's taken place around countries across the African continent that you consider to be good at things like tourism, investment, etc., etc. But each country is so different, so how do you compare them? You know, often people speak about comparing apples with apples. How do you get that right?
Well, we live in a beautiful continent, and you're correct, 54 to 55 countries, also different, offering an incredible and enviable fauna and flora, rich in mineral wealth, very, very young, 70 under the age of 30. So part of what we're trying to do with our new initiative, Brand Africa, Africa's Best Places, is we are trying to understand what are those countries which are excellent for tourism, excellent for trade and investment, and excellent for talent. And the process that we're going to be following is we're going to follow a very rigorous Pan-African research initiative. So we're going to conduct research across the countries, across the continent, but we are also going to ask countries themselves to submit. So there's going to be two lenses to how the process is going to work. There's a self adulation, if you will. Countries says we are great at this, we're great at talent, we're great at tourism, we're great at investment, and then we're going to ask citizens, business and visitors, right, what countries they think are great. So once we do that, we're then going to reduce it to a metric that takes into consideration the differences in the sizes, the differences in the sophistication of the countries, and to arrive at the metric. So this is the beginning of the process. It's going to take a bit of time.
Right. Okay. Often when we speak about brands, people associate that with specific products, perhaps with influencers, specific celebrities in some instances. I mean, how well do you think governments are getting at recognizing that they're actually running brands too when they run countries?
A few countries understand it. A few countries understand it. You look at a country like Rwanda, for example, which is intently positioning the country as the tech hub of the continent. They understand that they need to understand that what tourism does. If you look at countries like the Seychelles and all those, up to 60% of their GDP comes from tourism. So if you look at countries like South Africa, about 10%, and Kenya about 15% or so. So countries do understand that. They do know that it's important to look at themselves as brands. And countries like South Africa, Botswana, Kenya, and Nigeria have attempted, and some are doing it well, and some are not so well, have set up institutions which manage the country brands. Because a country brand is supposed to look at three things: how you're doing as a country for tourism, how you're doing as a country attracting investment, and how you're doing as a country for citizenship.
Right. There's also the Pan-African Survey, which is in some respects being carried out. I think that's what you alluded to.
Correct.
At the beginning.
Correct.
Are you able to speak to us with a bit more detail about the questions you're asking citizens when you carry out the survey?
We are actually going to try and make it simple. We're going to ask them a simple question: which is a country that they admire most,
okay,
in terms for tourism? Which is a country they want to visit? Which is a country, if they have money, they want to invest in? And which is a country where they want to move their talent to go practice their talent? So it's multiple questions, but at the end of the day, we're asking an admiration score, because brands at the end of the day are just promises made and promises are delivered. But most importantly, there are a combination of perceptions, and those perceptions is a simple question: which country comes to mind for tourism? for investment and for talent.
I'm very interested to try find out the kind of sample you'd be using because, I mean, depending, for instance, on which socio-economic class you fall in, your ambitions and perceptions may be very different.
Of course, and that's why we're going to segment this, the samples. We're going to segment the samples according to just ordinary citizens. We're going to segment it according to business. We're going to segment it according to visitors. Of course, what we also do, and learning from our brand Africa, Africa's Best Brands initiative, which we've been doing for the last 10 years, which we carry across 28 countries, which collectively account for 85% of the population. So we're going to make sure that we're also making sure that this survey as well is going to be as representative, covering the whole continent.
Absolutely. Shall we speak about brand South Africa very quickly?
My country. Our country.
No bias. So here we are hosting this really important multilateral engagement event, for lack of a better term. It's been done under very trying circumstances, not least because of things like COVID-19. But there's also a lot of interest in the news cycle now around the hearings, for instance, around the July unrest that took place. We're still in the throes of something like load shedding. Those kind of issues, how do you reckon they're having an impact on Brand SA?
Of course, they've got a tremendous amount of impact. As I said, because what perceptions shape the reality of many people's ideas about countries. So South Africa is a very challenged, our country is a very challenged brand where it is now. When it came out of '94, it was the hopeful country. It was a country of possibilities. Everybody wanted to come here. We launched our constitution in 1996. It was an incredible country then. It was a country of possibilities. I don't think it still has a great potential because we've got the foundations of a great country, but they've been fractured right now. So they've affected how people think about us. You look at the xenophobic attacks, you look at the unrest and all those. People ask us questions. What happened to South Africa? We started off as a winning nation, winning the Rugby World Cup in '95, the AFCON in '96. Since then we struggled, except for rugby, to put forward a winning combination. So we're a country that is now whose team is not complete, and we don't have a great game plan, and we have to get back to the basics. And I think getting back to the basics as a country will get us back there. I mean, we're declining on competitiveness, we're declining in terms of math and science, we're declining in all the metrics that make for a great nation. Our job as South Africans is to each contribute to a greater country by doing the best with where we are, with what we have.
Absolutely. I can hear the optimism in your voice, and hopefully it translates to real change on the ground, so to speak. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Really do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Ayanda.
Thebe Ikalafeng is the chair of Brand Africa, joining us here at the Intra-African Trade Fair, which is being held here in KwaZulu-Natal.